Socrates, one of the most influential philosophers in history, is remembered not only for his profound ideas and teachings, but also for the dramatic circumstances surrounding his trial and death. His execution in 399 BC marked a turning point in Western philosophy and has been a source of inspiration and debate for centuries. Socrates' trial, as recorded by his students Plato and Xenophon, highlights the tension between an individual's pursuit of truth and the demands of society. His death, carried out through the drinking of hemlock, stands as a powerful testament to his commitment to his philosophical principles. Socrates lived during a tumultuous period in Athenian history. Born in 469 BC, he witnessed Athens' golden age under Pericles and the subsequent decline brought about by the Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BC. The war devastated Athens, leaving it politically unstable and morally fractured. Socrates' unconventional ideas and his relentless questioning of authority emerged in this context, making him a controversial figure. He was known for his practice of the Socratic method, a dialectical approach to uncovering truth by questioning assumptions and exposing contradictions. This method often put him at odds with prominent Athenians as it challenged traditional values and authority figures. Additionally, his association with controversial figures such as Alcibiades and Critias further fueled public resentment. Critias, in particular, was a leader of the 30 Tyrants, an oligarchic regime notorious for its brutality. Although Socrates himself was not politically active, his critics accused him of indirectly influencing these men. In the years following the overthrow of the 30 Tyrants, Athens sought to restore its democratic identity. Socrates became a scapegoat for societal grievances, with many viewing him as a threat to traditional values and democratic stability. Socrates was brought to trial in 399 BC, charged with two main offences: corrupting the youth of Athens and impiety, specifically failing to acknowledge the gods of the city and introducing new deities. These charges reflected broader anxieties about his influence and his perceived challenge to Athenian traditions. The accusation of corrupting the youth arose from Socrates' habit of engaging young men in philosophical discussions, which fostered critical thinking but also made him a target for criticism. His accusers claimed that his teachings undermined respect for elders and the democratic order. The charge of impiety, on the other hand, stemmed from Socrates' unconventional religious beliefs. While he acknowledged the existence of divine forces, he often referred to a mysterious inner voice or daimonion that guided his actions. This personal spirituality was seen as an affront to the traditional gods of Athens, reinforcing the perception that he was a subversive figure. The charges were brought forward by three accusers: Meletus, a poet; Anytus, a politician; and Lycon, an orator. Each represented a segment of society that felt threatened by Socrates' ideas and influence. The trial of Socrates took place in the Athenian Agora and was conducted according to the democratic legal procedures of the time. Approximately 500 male citizens served as jurors, representing a cross-section of Athenian society. The proceedings, as described in Plato's Apology, offer a vivid account of Socrates' defense. Rather than offering a conventional defense, Socrates used the trial as an opportunity to challenge his accusers and reaffirm his philosophical mission. He argued that his questioning of accepted beliefs was not only harmless, but beneficial for Athens, likening himself to a gadfly that stirs a sluggish horse into action. He asserted that he acted out of a divine mandate to pursue truth and wisdom, even if it meant alienating himself from society. Socrates also addressed the charge of impiety by clarifying his religious beliefs. He denied introducing new gods and emphasized that his philosophical inquiries were consistent with a respect for divine will. However, his unwillingness to pander to the jury or show remorse likely worked against him. The jury ultimately found Socrates guilty by a narrow margin. Under Athenian law, both the prosecution and the defendant proposed punishments. The prosecution demanded the death penalty, while Socrates, with characteristic audacity, suggested that he should be rewarded with free meals for life for his service to the city. When pressed to propose a more serious penalty, he suggested a modest fine. His refusal to show contrition or offer a more conciliatory proposal likely hardened the jury's stance, and they voted for his execution by a larger margin than the initial guilty verdict. Socrates spent his final days in prison surrounded by his followers, including Plato and Crito. According to Plato's Phaedo, Socrates remained calm and composed, using this time to engage in profound discussions about the immortality of the soul and the nature of the afterlife. He viewed his impending death not as a tragedy, but as a transition to a higher state of existence, free from the limitations of the physical world. When the day of execution arrived, Socrates drank a cup of hemlock, a poison that caused a slow and painful death. His final moments, as described in the Phaedo, were marked by philosophical reflection and an unshakable commitment to his principles. He died surrounded by his friends, leaving behind a legacy of intellectual courage and moral integrity. The trial and death of Socrates have had a profound impact on the history of philosophy. His willingness to die for his beliefs established him as a martyr for the pursuit of truth and intellectual freedom. Socrates' approach to philosophy, centered on dialogue and critical inquiry, became a cornerstone of Western intellectual tradition. His method of questioning assumptions remains a powerful tool for uncovering truth and fostering critical thinking. He emphasized the importance of virtue in the examined life, arguing that true happiness comes from the cultivation of wisdom and moral character, rather than material wealth or power. Much of what we know about Socrates comes from Plato's dialogues, which immortalized his teacher's ideas and trial. These works not only preserve Socrates' philosophy, but also explore the broader implications of his life and death for politics, religion, and ethics. Socrates' martyrdom has inspired countless figures throughout history, from early Christian theologians who saw parallels between Socrates and Christ, to modern advocates of free speech and civil disobedience. His trial raises enduring questions about the limits of free expression and the role of dissent in a democratic society. By facing his fate with courage and grace, Socrates transformed his execution into a philosophical triumph, ensuring that his ideas would endure long after his death. Today, his legacy continues to inspire those who seek wisdom and dare to question the status quo.